of Dr. J. Nanakwikujua Ajaman II of the Agogo School in Asante. We appreciate all of you coming.
Pleasure.
This is the beginning of something special and new, not the end of a process. We trick you all to get you here. Talking about a 55th anniversary. Ain't nobody worried about 50. Most women say, I done suffered so much for 55 years, I deserve a special Nobel Prize. But we have to put in place the process of our success. We can't expect it to come from the Congress, certainly not the White House, which is the crazy house, not from Buckingham Palace, not even from these African nations who have this pseudo-independence but don't understand what's up and what's down, and have now allowed the Chinese to move in on the African continent, and they got so much control around these that they're squeezing, and they got a control around this, but the biggest control is not even in the heart, because we're very heartful people. The biggest control is in the mind. They got our mind. And so that's why we wanted to get you all here, so we can deal with the mind. And that's what we're going to do. So this was just a little appetizer. Isn't that right, Aphrodisia? Just a little appetizer. Isn't that right? Where's Marcus Garvey? But that's why you're blocking Marcus Garvey. There's Marcus Garvey. And he's got some others that are from the Caribbean that he's working with. But where's Brother Raymond? Okay, he went outside. And of course we got a Wadu crew there. Elder and Kofi Idol, our sisters. Look, if we put our thing together, we're on our way. You can't wait for the Congress to do it. You can't wait for the state to do it. You can't wait for the mayors in our cities to do it. We have to do it. I want to call for a think tank as of today that we put in place to decide how we're going to deal with the monstrosity of our existence. Look at the TV program. Look at those talking heads. Look at the professors. They don't know what the hell, whether they should wipe their ass with this or this hand. Study them. Don't get upset. Get prepared. And so that's why we came here. So we can get Herb Boyd, who's doing such a fantastic work, we can get him on track. And then Producer, who's doing such a fantastic work, get him on track. And all of y'all are here. And so we're here for serious business. We'll talk about that later. This is just the appetizer. But don't choke on the appetizer, just chew it. And it's a healthy thing for you. We got some African juice in that appetizer. Got something to clean that blood that's been polluted with all that mess in it. You don't even know how to drink water. My wife said, I can't handle this bottled water. I said, why, honey? Well, it's not here, it's not good. I mean, got me watching what bottle of water I drink. Because we have to have a science of economics, a science of politics, a science of culture. And we got to move away from this dead culture. And so that's what, my little introduction. Now, Charles Lewis, I saw Camille was there, but oh no, what happened to our drummers? Huh? Oh, they get a little smoke? I mean, a little smoke. Oh, smoking. The healthy smoke is good now. You go to Jamaica, they got some help. Look, if it wasn't for the smoke, do you think there would have been a Haitian revolution? They had to go into the Guatemala and get their shit together and upset the world. Study the Haitian Revolution and all of the aspects that come out of it, the other revolutions that followed. You have a revolutionary fervor in your world, and they're not taking a sip of mint juleps to get themselves on. They're blowing something that's going to give them something through their body that's going to have them become warriors, become leaders, become priests, become genius musicians with the culture. You're in a life and death struggle. And if you don't take care of business, you think your grandson is going to do it? You think that crazy son of yours who went off trying to make money going to do it? we have to stop and do an analysis and say, isn't that right? This is a leader of the UNIA. Sometimes not Marcus Garvey's UNIA. It's Brother Duncan's UNIA now. And I give respect, all respects to him to continue this enormous way. And we got to protect him. That's why we're here for the protection. Now what happened to my drums? Oh, okay. You don't want to ask Rosalind to come up now. She comes up a little later. But Mario, how soon do you have to go? Okay. Nothing important happens in the African world without the music, without the drumming, without the dancing. We went through that last night with our sister, had her aunt, and all those little babies and everybody there. Brother D's daughter, Sister Merge. Sister Merge. Were you there? Well, why are you jumping up, interfering with my thought and whatnot? I know she wasn't our babies. Her father came into my office in 1974 to go on with either the law program or the medical program for an interview. And Brother D came in with leaflets to get out on the street and struggle. I said, brother, put those damn leaflets away. We're trying to get you into this elite program. And Brother D has maintained his strength and his integrity ever since. Let's give him an acknowledgement. These are the type of young people we wanted to produce, and we have produced. So really, why we're here is for a rededication and a commitment to do something for our ancestors. I don't want no roses. And I certainly don't want no lilies after I'm gone. I want y'all to make a blood commitment. You know, we ain't gonna go into the woods and cut you, but, you know, a symbolic blood commitment. Because this is a spiritual war. And you got the juice to win it. Your history, your struggle, you are the human family. You didn't wait for no Greeks, you didn't wait for no popes. You didn't even wait for the Prophet Muhammad. You discerned the movement of the universe, the stars and heavenly bodies, and saw it in the human. And so you created a society in which that heavenly spiritualness would be a part of your culture, deep culture. Culture ain't shaking the booty. You know, I used to do a lot of shaking the booty too, what? You know, they used to have the, what did they call it, Rosalind? The bump. The bump. Look, my wife said, she waited for a while before she told me, she said, don't you ever get out on the floor and shake your bump and bump your big ass out like that. So, look, this is the truth telling. I ain't never got out on the floor since then. That was 1977 or something, a long time ago. Look, she is praying spiritually. I walk into the house and I feel the spirit. And I say, uh-oh, I better tip gently, don't say nothing. And she is communing with the, is that Leah? How the hell could you slip in here and I didn't feel you? I heard your partner, she's always out there. Look, Leah just married her daughter. This is one of the most important women that's in the struggle with me and Professor Sloan, planting our seed in Africa. And she has taken care of her mother, her auntie, daughters, but luckily, she got life. Her son married a beautiful sister, and they got a couple of angels over there in Montclair. How many are there, Leah? 3? I thought it was 2. Yes. Yes, Leah. Stand up so the brothers and sisters can see what Black Power is. She organized a celebration of her daughter that combined, and some from the UNIA were there, and a lot was from UAM. In fact, I looked out and saw 50 people from the UAM, and I said, all the crazies from the UAM right here. And later brought us all together, with dignity and grace. She took the deep tradition that her family had in the African-Israeli tradition. And she took this tradition of fire that we done picked up, that is symbolized by Professor James Moore. And so she worked the magic to have James and her family tradition with dignity together. And then she had nerve enough after it was all over and stuff and asked, did I have a few words to say? That was her biggest mistake of the day. But I did my best there. And, otherwise we could have burned the mother down. But no, look, these women are the joint. We cannot do without them. We need to elevate them. That's why Dr. Berg was saying, you've got to deal with the female. Do you think my brother could do all he did? He didn't have the wife that not only loves him and takes care of him, but raises his children so they're prepared for the struggle. We can't go, I don't need a wife. Yes, you do. You better fake it if you ain't got one. You need somebody to love. And you can't look in the mirror like Michael Jackson and say you don't love what you... Michael shouldn't have been looking at the mirror. He should have been looking for somebody else to help him. Hey, we need some drumming now. Mario, you want to come up and make your presentation and whatnot? Yes, we got to have Brother Atiba. These brothers are special. They've been moving through the vineyards, bringing up our music scientifically, culturally. We even had nerve enough to be together on the Campi Bongongo, the Gambia River, and on the island that Kunta Kinte's relatives were supposed to come out. And we had an encounter there. And these brothers have worked with these giants, like Randy Weston. We just lost him, a giant. And they maintain the African tradition as well as the African American tradition. So nothing happens without the music. And then with the music, we're going to let our sister, yes, Rich. Oh yeah, that's what we get, yes. But we don't want him to have, he needs some music. He's next ready. But these brothers have been sitting here. Mario, just a few. Okay, good. And if you miss the train, they have Greyhounds.
I don't do Greyhounds.
Oh.
My back.
We can do better than that. Give our brothers and sisters. And you saw how the music can soothe. And I'm quiet spirit. I was ready to do my little slumber. Okay now. Now, brothers and sisters, we have organizations here, leaders here. I even heard that Dr. Adam Moeller snuck in, he's here in the back somewhere. I'm glad to see all of you. So we can officially say that we've opened up our activity. Camille let Mario wants to make a message from, and then we'll have you come on. And so, Dr. Clark was my mentor, Dr. Ben was my mentor, and a number of the elders. So I'm standing on solid ground. But you're not going anywhere if you can't reproduce yourself and pass it on. So we've been blessed to have these young leaders in our various organizations, whether it's UNIA or the UAM for so many years, and certainly the National Council for Black Studies, and ASCAP. We've created these organizations to win this struggle for the African mind, body, and spirit. So the president of the organization that we conceived of in '84, at a gathering of African minds called together by Dr. Yosef Ben-Yakinen from Ethiopia, and Dr. Ben said, we need to claim our history and organize around it. So we met conflicting brothers and sisters, some that wanted to knock each other's head off, but he gave the word. We want to control our ancient history. So we met in '84 with a fantastic conference, hundreds of us, and at the end of it, we quietly met with a group of leaders that said, let's institutionalize the organization. And so you had Milana Karaga working with Jacob Carruthers, and the organization would be next year in Chicago and institutionalized and incorporated. And so they did that in Chicago, and then the next year it was New York's chance. So they came to New York, and we decided to put a financial foundation under the organization, and so we did. And that was the money that was used to send out the message to our people across the country and even in the Caribbean and Brazil to go to Egypt on a pilgrimage. And so in '86, we came up with the agreement. The idea was stabilized with incorporation, '85. It was conceived in '84. And in '87, we said we would go to the Nile when Chicago the headquarters organizing it. We said we'd have 3, but so many people wanted to go, we went to 500, to 600. And we said we got to cut it off. But still people wanted to go, we went to 700. And about 800 of us went to the Nile on this enormous pilgrimage. And from that point on, we began to seriously claim our full legacy in reference to world history. So you had Jacob Brothers, whose partner was Asa Hilliard. They're cousins who are fighters for the African mind, working together. And they knew how to work with the generations under them. And so up under them came these brothers and sisters. Queen Nzinga, our sister, for many years, she was the head of the organization. And under her wings, the Dr. Mario Beatty and his great, fabulous partner for life, and Greg Carr and others emerged. So I'm letting our brother, you know, we're going to put the test whether this is going to be an A lecture or B lecture or C lecture, but whatever it is, we're going to have you back, where we won't have all of this to deal with, but we just have to deal with your mind, your knowledge, your work. The leader of that organization that took 1,000 people to the Nile in 1987 is brother, Professor, Howard University, Dr. Mario Beatty.
Hotep African family. It's great to be here. And before I kind of get started with my remarks, I want to call your attention to the ASCAT conference. We're actually going back to LA and going back to Los Angeles Southwest College to kind of where we began. But as we go back, we are honoring African women. And it's a program. And so our conference theme this year is Sisters Without Peer. That's actually from a Kemetic love poem. But Sisters Without Peer, the power of womanhood in African civilizations, which this conference is going to allow us to deal with womanhood on our own terms, and African womanhood on our own terms, with African women at the center of that discussion. So we look forward to the conversation that we're going to have in Los Angeles. The dates are April 2nd through the 5th next year, 2020. It is wonderful to be here. I must say that Dr. Leonard Jeffries and Dr. ROSALYN Jeffries, their life has been a great and mighty walk. Their commitment, I was just with Dr. Jeffries 3 weeks ago at the African Heritage Studies Association. This is another institution that Dr. Jeffries has been seminal in terms of the foundation of this organization, seminal in terms of the founding of ASCAT, WADU. The organizations and institutions that this couple belong to and are committed to is phenomenal. I don't know that they even sleep. I don't know. Their whole lives have been committed to us. You see it every day. You see it in how they walk, how they talk, how they travel, how they move amongst us in this world. And when you see the depth of love that comes out of a relationship like that, you have to pay respect. You have to pay respect. Because that's the type of African love from an African family that is going to lead us to African liberation. That's the type of love that we need. And the ancient Egyptians, when a husband and wife feel deep affection to one another, they call each other brother and sister. They use a kinship term to express the depth of that love. Every time I see this couple, I think of Kemet. I think of a pair couple. And I think of them calling each other brother and sister. Because their whole life, they are with each other all the time. And their love has just grounded so many institutions. And their love is at the center of our struggle. And so when we honor them, we honor the best in ourselves. And we honor the best that African people can produce and can do in this world. And so Dr. Jeffries said he tricked us in coming to celebrate their 55th wedding anniversary, but it's a phenomenal achievement of this lifelong love that you all have for one another. And I want to come from ASCAC, from the organization that you helped to found. I want both of you to know that ASCAC loves you, that we support you, that we are grateful for your commitment to us, because we need to understand that our sense of ourselves as African people, in terms of our memory and identity, is intimately and intricately connected to the sense and the idea of freedom that we have, or that we will have. You can't have one without the other. You can't say, I want freedom, without being African. Those two things don't mix. And if you do, that freedom is really not worth it. Because the freedom that we want comes from the cauldron of African ideas, of African thoughts, of African behavior, and African values that have the potential to reshape not just our lives, but the potential to reshape humanity and put humanity back on the course of Ma'at. Because we are in the moment of Isfet. We are in the moment of ultimate chaos and disorder. And African people, our role is to continue to speak Ma'at, to do Ma'at, and to restore Ma'at. And this couple has spent their lives doing that. We give thanks. And I wish you, as the ancient Kemites would say, Anku Jasanen. I wish you life, prosperity, and health. Ashe.
Brothers and sisters, it's about generational interconnection. I stand on Dr. Clark and Dr. Ben's shoulders, and at the same time, my peers. There's been no group of brothers and sisters around the world that I don't think can be recreated. The struggle produced in England and Jamaica and in Germany and North Africa and on the African continent, it produced the Len Jeffries and the ROSALYN Jeffries that are everywhere. We need to plug into that network. Don't worry about going into Oprah's magazine looking for something. Or even the old Ebony, although they had more than Oprah gives you. But we are what we've been waiting for. Mario, you'll see his great wife, she'll be on the program. And so I really want to give, thank you. Adamo, you're not leaving? No. Oh, we can, this is Mr. Harlem. We would be run out of Harlem if we didn't give him a chance to get to the mic. But we do have food for you. But I'm not worried about your bellies. I'm worried about your mind and your heart. And so, now, I'm going to be in trouble. We're going to bring Camille up. But I got to acknowledge my better half. Before there was a ROSALYN Jeffries born in Harlem Hospital right up the street, there was a Leola Jeffries who produced her. She pushed out. I didn't want to come out. They had to pull me out. I popped out January 19, 1937. Good-looking black child, curly hair, fully melanized, nice little fat behind. And so for 21 months, I was the king of the hill. They were so proud of me, they actually took me and drove me. My father had a new Buick and drove me to Akron, Ohio and Cleveland, Ohio to show this little black child off. And I was feeling it too. I remember every bump in the road. But then a challenge came. My mother got pregnant again. And that shook my world. 21 months after being the king of the hill, I had to share the hill with my brother. And instead of coming out melanized like I am, he came out nice and light. And he was so wonderful that they just kind of pushed me to the side. However, and you know women don't do that. They know their children are their children, and that's the beauty of our relationship. My mother knew that she had produced these two wonderful boys, and she forced us to work together. She said, you're the oldest, you're supposed to take care of your brother. And you're the youngest, and you're supposed to listen to your brother. Now, sometimes he forgets that, but at any rate, just as you have a wife for life that has to deal with all your negativity and whatnot, and she has to provide some class for you, because most of us men don't care how we eat, how we kick our shoes off, hang our drawers up in the bathroom and other things like that. We don't take care of business. But women make sure that, I mean, she's still doing that now. They're 82 and 83. She'll move my stuff off of the dining room table and put it neatly up and then take it back into my room in the TV room. Even to this day, I'm the one paying the mortgage. But if we didn't have her money coming in, we would be in trouble. But this relationship of family is what we're talking about. Relationship of an undying love. Love supreme, if you will. And that's what it's all about. This younger brother, baby brother, is so powerful that when the struggle reached this height, I'm in Africa, being protected by all of the African juju and voodoos and whatever. And then him and Professor Small said, you don't know what's happening in America, all over America. So for 72 days, hours or whatever, 3 days, we're going to control your life. Now, when do you get a little brother who can say that? But he's been saying it all life. He's been next to me, protecting me, helping me. So much so, we had this conflict with Koch. Mayor Koch was trying to get in on putting the nails on my coffin. And Dr. Clark said, don't worry about Koch. Regent Sanford said, you don't need to worry about him. He's got enough to do with it. My brother said, Lenny, if you think it's necessary to go to meet Mayor Koch, you can do it. Because my all will protect you. He's in a heavy African martial arts, African, Asian, universal goju that allowed him to say it and mean it. And so as a result, I told Koch that I'm not going to come down to you. You need to come up to me in the college. Oh, I couldn't do that. It'll be a media event. Well, if you can't come up where I got the books and whatnot, then we ain't going to meet. And I said, well, besides, I'm not interested in meeting you anyway. because I want my damn pyramids back. He said, what? I said, I want my pyramids back. I got a picture of you riding on the camel talking about the pyramids have something to do with your background. In fact, there's a picture of Menachem Begin standing in front of the pyramids at the time of the Camp David Accords when they're saying, for the first time in 1,000 years, Menachem Begin was proud to be where he was. So I told him, no, I want my damn pyramids back. So he flew off to Hong Kong, was gone for a couple of days. He must have thought about it. I need to meet that fool so I can embarrass his butt. And so he called up from Hong Kong and said, let's meet. But I can't come up to the college. You got to come to my office. But with a brother like this, who said you can go wherever you think you need to go and I will protect you. May the 16th, 1990, the Jeffries boys got on the subway, got down to Rockefeller Plaza where he had his office. We rolled in, both of us, big box of books. We don't go nowhere without our weapons of mass destruction. In fact, my brother just gave me that table in the back. He's here for me and Rosalind, but he's also honoring, who is it, Jeff? Colonel Charles Young, who was a phenomenon. He's a Harriet Tubman that we don't know enough about. We need to know Charles Young and what he did.
And also a young person named Clayton Carpenter. He was a West Point graduate, and he didn't go to college, Columbia, Yale, Harvard, because his father spent up the money they had saved for college. So he joined the service, went to West Point. I think he came out on the top of the class. But he served a tour in Iraq 1 year and served a tour in Afghanistan, driving helicopters. He came back to the United States and in a defective helicopter that they knew was defective. He died in the crash. Fortunately, his mother is a lawyer, so you know what she's going to do. She's doing it. She may need our moral support because they're coming after her. But he was born in 1983. Can you imagine? 83 and died in 2014 in a helicopter crash on my son's Hassan's birthday. 1/13. 14.
All right, for those Capricorns, Dr. Ben, Dr. Clark, and the rest of us, Muhammad Ali too.
Now, I went to West Point only because Clayton's mother, they call them Gold Star mothers and Gold Star fathers. So she had didn't want to participate, so she needed support to go to West Point. So I went with her and a couple other friends. At West Point, he was honored. And at West Point, I started running my mouth. And before it was over with, as we were leaving, this guy from West Point was following me and shook my hand and slipped me a medal. He gave me a medal from West Point. Now, Colonel Charles Young, how many people know who he is or was? See, we're always looking for role models. He's the perfect role model for us to learn something about.
Give him some acknowledgement. Hey, your movie's still there.
went to Central State College in Wilberforce, Ohio. Central State and Wilberforce became two universities when they split. A group of Central people wanted to go with the state and became a state school. And Wilberforce stayed with the church, AME Zion. Now, Colonel Young taught military science at Wilberforce University. His house was destroyed in the tornado that destroyed Central State and destroyed Wilberforce University. I want tornado came through there and destroyed the house, destroyed 3 or 4 ancillary houses. So I know that in the fields, in the cornfields around him, there's archaeological artifacts scattered in the cornfields. The farmers in the area want them to, come on, let's farm the land. No, we need to go find and dig up the artifacts. So I have some documents in the back table and some books.
This is the book my brother's referring to. This brother needs to be studied. What he did is extraordinary. He knew that we needed land, so he got 90 acres of land, some of the richest land in that area, and he put up ancillary buildings. Oh, goodness.
It must be God calling Leonard.
Yes, the guy was saying, we know that you'll want something to eat, and we'll have it soon. But that's Brother Adisa. That's one of our sons who came out of Ascot, and he's calling because there's an African from Liberia who has come, and he'll be here for 10 days, and we're trying to make arrangements for him. He's coming into Washington, D.C. So my brother mentioned that God calling because not too long ago we had a funeral of one of our family members, and of course I did my little presentation, and everybody was glad to hear me. And then my brother, the family was looking at him, what you gonna say after your big brother Lenny got up there? They used to call me Little Lenny, because my father is 6'5". So, you can't fool my brother's always ready. He got up there, looked at the folks, everybody was gonna say, well, what you gonna say? You know, after your brother, big brother. And then all of a sudden, the telephone rang. And he said, y'all can calm down now. That our cousin Norman, he's in God's hands. And everything is all right. And everybody fell out. That opened us up in terms of the ceremony. But Jeff will be able to talk more. He has the book, and it's part of our fundraising. We have to raise money for not for us, but for the legacy. We're dealing with the legacy of our people. And it can't be funded out of my wife's check. She's still teaching. She should be finished. But that money allows her to do things she needs to do and helps me. Luckily, I have a pension. But we can't spend the pension on all of this work of the race. We need help. And those of you who are not in the position to do it, you'll contact us when you are ready. But those of you who can, we want you to sign on. That I'll be helping you get this legacy. It's not the personal thing with us. It's the legacy that we have as African peoples is what we're talking about. So my brother will have a chance, and we'll have a chance to talk with him in the back, Jeff, because Camille, she needs to. Our sister Camille.
Hi, Camille. I just want to say, in 1864, Colonel Charles Young was born in Kentucky into slavery. He was born into slavery. And he became the third black to attend West Point. And I think they did the silent treatment on him. But to show, he went to Liberia and he went to Haiti as a military attaché. And also, they're involved with the Buffalo Soldiers, the 10th Cavalry and the 9th Cavalry. And they're connected with the 24th Infantry and the 25th Infantry. So, but these are some, I'm learning. And because of the hurricane, one of these fraternities stepped in and took the house and restored it, and then gave it back to the Federal Parks Department as a museum to Colonel Charles Young. And I understand that this past Veterans Day, 50 of those fraternity members showed up when the sequoia trees out in California, which the Buffalo Soldiers was assigned to protect all the federal lands and parks, named the road after Colonel Charles Young. There was 50 members of that fraternity there. And truth be known, it was Omega Psi Phi, Q Dogs that did all that.
Uh-oh. We're getting into a fraternity thing, y'all. So I hope no alphas jump up and try to knock me down, or no kappas, but as quiet as it's kept. My brother has produced with his wife, two miracle black men. One, the baby is Hassan, Dr. Hassan Kwame, and we have something in the back that he helped produce, that 19 slave project. He's in the middle of that. And his big brother, he got to deal with a big brother. And I know what that's all about. His big brother is Congressman Hakeem Jeffries. Don't tell nobody. You know, tough brother. When you see Hakeem grab the mic, you know he gonna take care of business. Yeah. But he's got two sons. One just started college. He's got a wife, Kenny Sandra, who's been by his side. They working it. So my brother, I had to give him his kudos. And as quiet as he kept, I got 2 degrees from Columbia University, master's and PhD, but he got his master's from Columbia also. I have a picture of him holding on to his oldest son, Hakeem, and his beautiful wife, Rosie, pregnant with Hassan. And they were taking their pictures up at Columbia. So you ain't the only one that had something to do with Columbia. You know, Herb Boyd has to do with all, he got a project too. And legacy is what I'm talking about in reference to the projects that you have on the table. So our sister, my brother and I will be here. I just want you to know, to have the best possible wife in the world, to have the best possible brother in the world, to have a spiritual mother in the world. She was with us in Ghana in 75 and then went with us to Egypt in 87. There's a picture of her with her 2 grands, Hakeem and Hassan, 12 and 14, in the great temple, Karnak temple in the Nile. When you got this much going, you're supposed to be able to do something. You're supposed to give back and make it happen. So we're doing this automatically. It ain't forced. And I trick y'all to come here thinking you got some food, but we ain't got but some hot dogs for y'all. No, I had to clean that up. Clean that up quick. One of the best restaurants in the world is Jamaican Breeze. And out of that, coming from Mike Duckett and his family, comes a politics of African people, economics of African people, culture of African people. And he's at the head of it. Look at him. I mean, this guy is so wonderful, so strong, so Raymond Duguay just walked in at the right time when I was mentioning Brother Mike. Now, we're celebrating our people. I'm going to let Camille, Camille has been with us for years, and I really want her to be able to say something. I have to apologize for her. But we came here to celebrate, and you're going to have some good food from Jamaican Breeze, Mike's establishment, and there's nobody doing it like he is doing it. I couldn't get on my knees and beg him. I didn't have to. He said, what do you want? How many people do you want? So stand up so we can see who. Michael Duggan, Heaven to you and I, taking on the mantle, walking Messiah Garvey, and doing it like I've never seen or felt anybody could do it. Brother, when I get up into the pearly gates, I'm going to say, save a special spot for Mike and his family.
Just an addendum to that, I just have to say to you that Brother Mike has gone above and beyond to make this event, to help us to make this event happen, so I want to personally thank him for that. I was driving here to Harlem from Merge Boulevard with that food in my truck, and I was like, oh, I might take this home, Dr. J, when I see this. That food, family, and I've had that food before because I've stopped by and eaten myself. Family, you are in for a treat. We may have to, there's so many of you here, we're happy. Africans, give yourself a hand. You came out, it's cold outside, celebrate our beautiful elders. But Mike is going to come on at some point, right? And we want to make sure when he comes, he has a presentation for Dr. J. We want to make sure that you talk about the Restaurant Owners Corp. Because family, the restaurant is beautiful. But wait till you see ROC, the Restaurant Owners Corporation. I was in there today. It's amazing. Black people at the registers, black people managing, black people in the aisles, and black people shopping with black people. And he's going to talk to you about it because we need to move to another level with that. There's no reason that black people should be buying black products from people that don't look like black people, if you know what I'm saying. I'm going to say it the nice way. We should not be buying from crackers, that's the bad way. We should not be buying from Koreans. We should not be buying fried chicken from a damn Bangladeshi. Black people make the best fried chicken on this earth. Why are we buying food from other places? And of all our supplies, we should be getting from a black person. That's what the other groups do. That's why they have their respect. And we won't have our respect until we do for ourselves, first and foremost, above all others. So when Mike comes, I expect him to talk about Restaurant Owners Corp. And we're going to talk, I talked to you before, we're going to talk about how we can start connecting with some of these elders' homes. And so the elders, you know how they have the vans that come to the senior centers or whatever and take folks shopping. Black elders should be going to the Restaurant Owners Corp. So we're going to see how we can make that happen for 2020. But before Nana Camille comes on, Brother Mario left, but he didn't show you this. I just wanted to read it to everyone. It says, it's a photo album, sterling silver. It says, congratulations to Dr. Leonard Jeffries and Dr. ROSALYN Jeffries on your 55th wedding anniversary. Thank you for your great contributions to the liberation of African people from the Association for the Study of Classical African Civilizations. So, that was the boxes there. I just wanted to present it to you. Without further ado, the delightful, the spiritual, the heavenly, Nana Camille Yarbrough. Give it up.
What happened? Y'all can't do the way anymore? You've been away from home so long you forgot to do the way. No, I don't believe that. Good evening, everyone. It is always good to be with family and to speak as family. Some people say family is just a four-letter word, but that's not the kind of family we're talking about, is it? Everyone here has been a beneficiary of some love. I have to thank Sister Rosalind. Brother Jeffries was always out front, but sometimes Sister Rosalind was not. And sometimes we have to stand up and say that, and say, so good to see you. You were always there with Brother Jeffries. And I want to talk about a kind of love that we've all experienced, or we wouldn't be here. Our parents, neighbors sometimes shared something with us. And when I was in the dungeons in Ghana, at Elmina, and I think Dr. Jeffries took us to 11 slave castles, dungeons. And I said to myself, how did they come through this? Us, the blood that's in us, that loved us more than they loved themselves. And they said, we're not going to give up. Just as we said, we're not going to give up. And we wrote songs about it, didn't we? We said, can't let nobody turn us around, even can't no grave keep our bodies down. We said, keep on moving higher and higher. Remember, we don't get no waste time. Didn't we say that? Haven't you said that to yourself sometimes when things were bad and you didn't know how you were going to get through this, and you said no? So I told you no. It put something in my mind to write a song about it. And so I'm going to share that with you today, if I can get this under control. All right. To have come through that, to have worked so hard and gotten myself to be such a good dancer that I joined the Catherine Dunham Company. They auditioned, had to audition. Went around the world, I saw our people every place. And we went to Australia and performed Shango. We performed songs and dances from this country, our dances, our culture. There were people there who said, well, they're not black enough, because they had been used to minstrels. They remembered that, they had pictures of all of that. When we went to other places, they chased us and said, they looked at us. And I have to say, now this was in the 50s and 60s. So it's a little while back. They're a little used to us now. But they still want our culture. They don't want us to have it. They want to do it themselves. And I'm saying, if we cannot control our song, our music, we don't have life. Because our culture is our life. So, I wrote this song because I thought of the old people, the people on the south side of Chicago. I thought about my mother and father, my great-grandmother, who lived to be 115 years old, and who lived through enslavement, and who, while she was enslaved, was an activist, you hear me? And I have other relatives, as you have. That's family, that's love I'm talking about. That's the love that's here in Rosalind and Leonard Jeffries. And it's called Hand-Me-Down Love. Anybody ever told you, old folks, mind me? A hard head make a soft behind. All the time. And so the song starts. Hand-me-down love, passed on from heart to heart. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Oh, hand-me-down love, passed on to you and me and my star. Hand-me-down love, from old to young, from then to now, from old to young. Passed in a look, sound, sometimes just a caution song. Now it was talked about where? In hand-me-down blues, sworn natural, yeah, like some handmade shoes. And it was tested throughout the years by so many hand-me-down fears. But it brings each new girl and boy when I'm talking about hand-me-down love. That's what the elders gave us, hand-me-down love. They passed it on to save us, hand-me-down love. They knew that it would teach us, hand-me-down love. They knew that it would teach us, hand-me-down love. Pass it on, yeah, hand-me-down love. Pass it on, yeah. They said something like, I'm gonna make this kind of short, but they said, remember, every goodbye ain't gone. Do you remember hearing that in the blues singers? You know what that means. You know, we thought racism was gone. We pushed it into saying goodbye, but it wasn't gone. So our blues singers were trying to tell us, every goodbye ain't gone. Be careful. They also told us, like, every closed eye ain't sleep. You ever hear that? You ever listen to some blues? They don't put it on the radio too much these days, you notice that. But we need blues. Sometimes I walk in the supermarket, they're playing some kind of music. I say, what is that? But I need some Aretha. You know, I need some Ray Charles. I need some, because that's our soul music, and that's our love music. Yeah, hand-me-down love, passed on from heart to heart. Do you feel it in your heart? Do you feel it in your heart? Yeah, hand-me-down love, passed on to you and me at our start. Remember mama holding your mama, cutting up clothes to make clothes for you? Oh yeah, enriched by, talked about, hand-me-down blues, born natural life, handmade shoes. Now, I'm singing this song because it was handed down to us. But what are we handing down to our children? I think you here are aware, conscious of what is needed. We need some damage control. That's what Black Studies Department was, damage control. You understand? Every time we talk against or we teach against the ignorance, we're putting in damage control. And so, keep that in your mind when you see some of our young kids, children walking down the street, not looking right, not speaking well. You understand the damage was over 400 years, and it's up to us to control it. Can we do that? Hand me down love. Come on, pass it on, pass it on. Hand me down love, pass it on. Thank you, Rosalind. Thank you, Dr. J. Thank you, family. Pass it on.
You can do better than that. Let's give Camille an acknowledgement. She was part of the expansion of Black Studies, and she came. We had a dance instructor. He was good, but when we got Camille, we got the African and a serious look at our culture, and she traveled with us wherever we went. So let's give it again for our team member, Camille. I don't read sign language too well, Charles. Are we going to eat first? And then we would have something. Is Mike still going to be here? Should we eat first? Mike, tell us to eat first. Because these folks, we're trying to feed them some love and some consciousness and some spirit, but these look like hungry Negroes. So we're going to take care of that right now. And then, this is a family counseling that's going on this time.
So, I was told by a little birdie, a female bird, you know, the women are always the wisest ones when it comes to money. They're always the ones that are like, I don't have no money, but if you turn around, women always have money. And a wise woman just told me, before we let y'all Negroes from Harlem and Brooklyn and Pennsylvania, wherever you came from, eat, that we should do some fundraising. All right, so I'm gonna let her come and let the Bible step back and let the women do what they do because they do it the best. So this is Sister Karen Stowe. She is another member of the family, former student, and I could introduce her a little better than because she was here before I was here.
Yes, Karen is an extraordinary individual. You see how she comes already packaged and whatnot. But she was one of our student leaders. And she was so good that when Dr. Georgina Falou was helping us put these foundations in place, the Lumbe Foundation, Dr. Ben and Dr. Clark and all the Jeffries Foundation, we needed some young blood to be a part of it. And so Karen became one of the officers of our foundation. And she's family. And so that's what we would like to get more of you to be family. I forced myself on our leader, Mike Duncan. And there's a couple, there's big man Mike on the other side of Mike Duncan. You got big man Mike. Put your hand in the air, Mike, so people can see you. So I forced myself on. So I'm forging an African communal family that's going to arm itself to lead this enormous struggle. So Sister Karen, my wife was saying that we have a tendency to have programs and activities, and we don't ask you all to make a contribution. Everything is free, but whatever you can do to help with the legacy projects, we definitely need it. We're trying to raise enough money to be able to do something significant over this next year. We'll put the foundation in. The collection of materials that you see here is going to go to Morgan State University. We're making arrangements for that type of connection. So we're going to give Karen a chance, because we want to get your names, your addresses if possible. You don't have to make a donation at this time, but you could make a commitment. But Karen's saying, shut up and let me do the talking. But we wanted to make this an event that you would come to and enjoy yourself. Monies that you can contribute will go into a meaningful endeavor. But we really did not want to. Now, see, these are two of the children that Black Studies produced. And Brother Reggie, look how tall he is. And to be very frank, he led our Sons of Africa. He's still the leader of our Sons of Africa, 40 or 50 or 60 young men. And he led them through the battlefield. We were at war. They lived with us for a year. 8 of them lived with us in our home in Teaneck, New Jersey. Wherever we went, I had to have bodyguards. My wife got to the point where she said, I want a life. Do we still have to have 8 bodyguards? So they said, well, we'll relieve the bodyguards and we'll give you, I have 4 bulletproof vests and a flak jacket. Reggie said, you need something extra with your situation. So this is real family and struggle, family and social African love. And so we'll give them a few words and then come back to food. The food is wonderful, coming from the Jamaican roots. Karen Stowe, one of our lovely sisters, mothers, and the spirit of African mother.
Yes. Good evening, everybody. I want to thank God for bringing us here tonight. I want to thank the spirit of the divine feminine, which certainly resides in our mother, ROSALYN Jeffries. And of course, the masculine principle with Dr. Jeffries. I want to thank the spirit of our ancestors for bringing us all here. Dr. Jeffries' mom, what is her name? Leola Jeffries.
grandfather Jesse Jeffries, who was born August the 10th, in a week that Marcus Garvey was born, but he was born 1868, so he got here before Marcus Garvey. But it was him and his wife, my grandmother, that had 13 kids, and they were raising 7 other kids. And that's the foundation root that I spring from, out of Georgia, and on my mother's side, Virginia. And the beautiful thing is that he was murdered by the Klan in July the 14th, 1917, when the Birth of the Nation movie created another insanity in America, and there was a lynching frenzy. But in spite of the fact that we lost him, he had seeded with our grandmother 13 children, and they were raising 7 others of the family. So, and they all have come out with enormous strength. So even though we lost our grandfather at that time, in 1917, when they called that period, that was the period of the blood summers of 1919, on Wall Street, they burned down the Greenwood section of Tulsa. White folks were going crazy. They were murdering black soldiers because they couldn't stand a black man in uniform. So this is what Karen is making reference to. We come from strong families. We need to make sure that we have a family process in place.
Ashe. Just as Dr. Jeffries' ancestors are important, your own ancestors are important. Remember your lineage. Remember where you came from. Remember the philanthropic things that your ancestors did, the way that they gave people food to eat when they were hungry, lent somebody some sugar, let somebody sleep on the couch, all of the good things that they did. And their spirit will live on in the good works that we do. So now, what? I'm sorry, Dr. Mom Rosalind. May I have the name of your ancestors as well? Your mother's name, your father's name.
Mary Robinson and Edmund Robinson. And they have deep South Carolina roots. Can you see South Carolina in Rosalind? And of course, she got the... No, but just to mention your family. We'll really be in trouble if Rosalind speaks. She just don't mention her family. Don't get nervous. She's a preacher. I'm a teacher, but she spirit will carry her. Uh-oh, I'm messing up.
Greetings, family. It's wonderful to be here and to see everyone here. We are going through all kinds of changes these days because we live in such a modern time. Even looking downtown, we see there's around 57th Street, there's a building that is 130 stories high. Can you imagine? People wanting to live 130 stories high. It's not a building, it's a condominium. I mean, it's not for business. And so people are moving in that direction. It costs $60 million for a condominium, and that's the lowest price. We find that corporations are buying others and building while there's gentrification. We're expanding bigger and bigger doesn't always mean the best. We understand that too from people who are in the natural health. We know we'll see these gigantic carrots, but it's GMO. We'll see these gigantic, instead of a chicken leg, it looks like a turkey leg, but it's a chicken, and so bigger and bigger may be GMO. And so that we want to be about training the younger generation so that they'll be able to separate the wheat from the chaff, that they'll be able to understand because something is big and huge, It may not be the essence of the ancestry that was built on values and principles and wonderful things, like you go to Ghana and you find that people were dealing with the Adinkra symbols, not just for the art's sake, but because they represented solidity and values. Patience, love, endurance. Or you can group those Adinkra symbols into sections, and each of those sections will give you a language in and of itself. So too with the Metanetra, when they were talking about the women, concepts of women in the sky as a cow, Het Haru, or the water, Taurt, or the Nile itself, the hippo, Hapi, as it flowed from the heavens down into the earth. And so therefore, to plow into a woman was the symbol of love. The symbol was a plow. You plow into the depth of Mother Earth, but also you would plow from the heavens with the waters that were flowing down. The symbol for the womb was Hemet Weret, which was a well of water. The outside was scalloped such that it was not just ordinary water, but the oceans and the rivers and the streams. And so what does this mean? This means that our spirit should not be like dead rigor-morphosis. It should not be the valley of the dry bones. It should be a flowing water, like the Spirit flows through us and gives us life and effervescence. And we are renewed in this. And this is why Jesus said, out of my belly shall flow rivers of living water. And so myself, as an art historian, I have been dealing with many of these passages from biblical passage or things from the Quran, and going into the spirituality of ancient Kemet from the depths of the heavens down to the earth. So may it be as above, so below, that exists and moves and lives in our soul and our bodies, that we would be renewed. For while we're gathering here, many organizations we can pinpoint. Leonard started mentioning some. We were at the Seymour Tapper Fair, and they had almost like 80 different organizations come. Why are you living? Why are you living? You are living because God so loved the world and so loved you that he put you down here with a destiny not to be dying in the destruction of the world and the confusion that's down here, but that you might have life and renew it in abundance. And so the abundance of who we are, we have to regather together. Why? Because the Asians are moving in a different direction, and we don't want them to swamp us. All kinds of people are moving, wanting to part of Mother Africa, and where are we in the picture? So we must stay alive in effervescence in the God that created us, that we might flow and be a part of who he is, she is. For it's a father that mothers us with a love that's so deep, so that, I know a bishop, and he said, well, God created marriages so they could kill each other. So they could kill each other. And there's some truth to that, because sometimes you battle because the people that know you closely will tell you some truth, and you may not want it, and you have to, struggle. Organizations are like that, pitting each other but we must learn to come together. And the symbol in ancient Kemet was one that showed you the battling of life that was necessary to bring forth and produce strength and stamina for the battles and the troubles that you have. Each step goes higher and higher. Each round goes as if it's a Jacob ladder. And the symbol in ancient Kemet that represented that was called Eru Bijet. Eru meaning the Christ factor, the higher echelon, the raise your hand, lift it up for the holiness of God, who the God force is, who who the god for she is. And so that it's a symbol that we call the caduceus because the Greeks renamed it. But the symbol was Herubijet, showing two serpents intertwined. There goes my Metanetra teacher right there. If I say it wrong, he'll be able to tell me. Mfadishi was my Metanetra teacher, and not only for me, but many of the others, and so too Reggie got heavily into the Metanetra and is a teacher amongst the ASCAT groups. And so that as the serpent, the caduceus shows you the serpents battling back and forward, but at last, as they get toward the top, the power of Most High comes down, and then there's a synapsis in the solar wing discs. And so that outstretched wings, we are victorious. And that's what we knew all the time. And we brought that symbol from ancient Egypt. It moved in the transcontinental form, the solar wing disc, and became part of the Ashanti golden stool. A circle in the middle of the golden stool. They're different from these. The symbol is the golden stool is circle, and there's two appendages on the side that people thought of as butterfly wings, but indeed it was another version. I know it because I know the same symbol moved into the Bois people of Upper Volta, and it was a circle symbol in the middle with outstretched wings. So I say to you finally, our ancestors, we can name them all, mine from South Carolina, and we can take those ancestors and say, yes, they moved through the Middle Passage. They moved through all of these sections of history that Leonard tells about so wonderfully and reminds us so wonderfully. He's a king. He is of the Ashanti line. He has deep symbols and signs from the divine kingship system in him, and also of the Oni, the beads he's wearing of the Oni of Ife. And so what is it like, ancestors who've been through all of that? What is it like, Dr. Jeffries, my husband? What is it like to pass through all of these passages? We don't kill each other. We have differences. You know, people say that oil and water don't belong together. It's not true, you know. We have oil in our human bodies. There's a vitamin E is an oil. The brain is made basically with an oil. Vitamin E is important to the brain, and at the same time, here's the water that flows from the heavenlies down into the deep of the earth and springs back up to become the source of the Blue Nile and the White Nile. So I'm saying our ancestry is supernatural. So when you see the horrors of our society today, keep in mind that you're still living. I want you to holler out your name and then holler out, I'm alive. Do it. The Valley of the Dry Bones is alive on this particular day, the 30th of November. Let us all say amen. Amen.
Opens and closes doors. In Yoruba tradition, I'm a priest of Eshu. Opens and closes doors. So I ask for the door to be closed on lack, on struggling, negativity, on doubt, on fear. And I ask that the door is open to African excellence. I ask that the door is open to generosity. I ask that the door is open to spiritual power. And I ask that you open your pocketbook or open your pocket and bring some money to the Dr. Jeffries. So The thing of it is, Dr. Jeffries was saying that they're creating a legacy. This is not just about these two living individuals. They rely on the wisdom of the past, but they can also see into the future because their third eye's open and they know we're going to need help in the future. So we need to move this legacy forward. So I'm asking right now, I'm not going to do the church thing and say, anybody got $500, come on up. So let's make it simple. It's their 55th anniversary. Anybody got $55 or even $5, come up here right now. I'll start off. There's $55 in this envelope. Bring some more. And the other thing is, any amount will do. One of the things I love about our history, when I studied the church history of my church in Tuckahoe, Shiloh Baptist Church, that church came together with people putting nickels and dimes and quarters until they built a structure. So don't feel embarrassed if you got 50 cents, come on up. You got $1, come on up. You got $5 coming up. You got $10 come on up. The significance is they have given us so much. It is time for us to give back. So please give back, give generously, and please do it now. Thank you.
Brothers and sisters, culture is beautiful. We need it because it guides us, it tells us what to do and how to do it. Politics advocate for us on our behalf, but economics rules the world. And brothers and sisters, I want you to go deep in your pocket for our ancestors, for our brothers and sisters now who have sacrificed for us, to go deeper in your pocket and make it work. Make it work. Think a little bit longer and think a little bit harder. Brothers and sisters, we got to make it happen. People who have sacrificed for us need to make that difference. Dr. J? We have everybody?
Peace to the fam. Now, that part, as much as we appreciate it, was shaking the change out of your pocket. Some of you just had to get some of those loose coins out your pocket, right? I just want to check, is there anybody here, right, who wants to make a more generous donation? One of the things that we have to think about is that this couple is not a regular couple. This couple, along with their 55 years of marriage, saved the legacy of African people. There's no other couple that particularly studied and brought to us African culture and brought together the greats around them. No other couple than Dr. Leonard Jeffries and Dr. ROSALYN Jeffries. This is our legacy. Now, again, let me get back to the main thing. Is there anybody here who wants to actually make a major donation that will help the Jeffries continue their work? Now the cameras are on. They're here to take a picture with you, right? But it's important for us to join this legacy. Now myself, the sons of Africa, and the daughters of Africa, during the worst of times, we sacrificed our lives for this moment. We were the groups of people who protected Dr. Leonard Jeffries when y'all all slept, right? And I'm not going to tell you what we did, who we did to, who we threatened, but Dr. Jeffries and Dr. ROSALYN Jeffries is here today. Now, y'all don't have to make that sacrifice. All you have to do is just shake some coins. So, brother, I'm gonna turn it over to you.
Hold on. I wish I was able to walk the streets of Harlem with Marcus Garvey. I wish I was able to walk the streets of Harlem with the great Carlos Cooks. But thank God I'm able to walk the streets of Harlem with Dr. Jeffries. Brother, I want to give you $2,500 to give the family, and it cannot be enough for what this brother and this sister have given us. Brothers and sisters, we can't let people who sacrifice for us. So, Dr. Jeffries, I'd just like to offer you.
I'm gonna give it back to you so that you can give the money. Excuse me, Dr. Rosalind Jeffries is here. I want you to give the money to Dr. Rosalind Jeffries to hold for Dr. Leonard Jeffries. As much as Dr. Jeffries wants this,
brothers and sisters, when this man called me, because usually the wife doesn't call, but when this brother called me, no cannot be in my vocabulary. This brother has sacrificed. I'm standing on these shoulders right here. And what this brother has been doing for me every time he sees me, he's giving me books. He's giving me information. He's preparing me to build that great city in Africa that we are going to build. So brother, sorry it's only $2,500, but I'd like to thank you so very much for everything you have done, brothers and sisters. As I said, I wasn't here to walk these streets with Marcus Garvey. Wasn't here to walk it with Carlos Cooks. But I'm walking the streets with you, brother. Thank you, sister. Thank you. I love both of you. Thank you so very much.
Stand here for 1 second. Now, everybody, not all of us can make this type of contribution, right? But this brother and his family made this type of contribution. Can you please give him a round of applause?
On it. Soccer is an individual sport played by a team. Dr. Jeffries, I'm on your team. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Mr. Our producer here, you and I remember OG, thank you so very much. And one more thing, brother and sisters. Give it up right there again. To all you and I members in the house, if you can't do it today, I need you to make a commitment. Carrie, since you're my assistant, I'm asking you to give $500. If you can't give it today, you can give it tomorrow. Brother Raymond, don't look the other way. I'm asking you to give $500 as well. And then, but say his wife gonna get me. But we cannot do enough, and we cannot thank enough these great Africans. Thank you.
Brothers and sisters, I can't thank all of you enough. And certainly, I can't thank Big Mike enough. I have been able to read his spirit as best I could. And I have decided whatever I can give him to strengthen his path, he's going to get. At one point, I think we gave you a stool.
Yes, I still have it.
We gave him a stool. And one of the reasons why I brought the stools out today, Africans have a stool culture. They have the female stool, the Queen Mother stool, they have the warrior and the warriorette stool. And so after we do get something to eat, I would like to have a public installment of Big Mike because he's walking where nobody else walked. He's in with his family in Liberia. He is linking up to Ghana. He is already linked to Liberia, to Jamaica, and then he has plans for Liberia. This brother has vision, and he has skills, he has integrity, and I want to put as much of what I have to offer with him. So I would like him to stay, at least for us to have a symbolic installment to the stool that I was installed on, and that's the Ashanti stool. So that he has the choir, the Crew people in Liberia, he has the Jamaican Highlands folks, he's hooked up with the Haitian, with Raymond. So we're gonna, after we have something to eat, we're gonna have a symbolic installment of the brother, because he's got to carry this heavy weight, and he's doing it. And I want to be able to say I passed by and was able to build a bridge over troubled African waters, a Pan-African bridge, so he can continue this great work. So brothers and sisters, are you going to allow them to eat? No, these are tears of joy. Those, look, when you got a brother like this, he said he would help with the food, he'd take care of the food. And then we thought everything was cool, and then there was a cake. And we don't need no damn cake, we need some food. But he wanted to make sure that we even had a cake for the birthday. You don't find this type of love under normal circumstances. This is a spiritual love that Marcus Mosiah Garvey had for us, College Stokes had for us. In spite of all of the conflicts and the devastations and the stumbling blocks, and I have to remove one of them from my side of the fence, the African American side of the fence, when we're talking about W.E.B. Du Bois and the conflict that he had with Marcus Mosiah Garvey. We got to get rid of that, learn from that. But we've got to find a formula for unity in the community of the global African family. You didn't know I could do some rapping. Now let's...
From the bottom of their hearts, they say thank you for your generosity, for coming here, and for giving back. We certainly appreciate it. We also understand that perhaps you weren't able to give today, and that's all right. We have a little index card here. If you would like to put your name and your information and your pledge and your contact information, that would be marvelous. But we are so very, very grateful. So now, I think it's time to eat. So, God bless the food, may it nourish our bodies, amen. We will serve the elders first, and then people who may have a disability, and then everyone else may have something to eat. Thank you.